Okay, something that has been living in my brain rent free is just the whole idea of comparison and how to kind of combat that because it can feel so freaking tricky. And once you're in it, it is so hard to get out, I feel like. And I don't know, I've just really been sitting in the idea of comparison and how to remove yourself from it and all of that good stuff. So I want to talk about it on the podcast because I think it's a trap that I've been falling into a lot lately. And I don't know, it's going to be real, it's going to be vulnerable, but those are the best kinds. So without further ado, let's jump in. I really hope that you are drinking something cooler than me right now because I literally just have water. Just plain old water. I mean, not even anything in it. I don't even have fun water, just water. So I hope your beverage is going better than it is for me. It's my own fault. I mean, I fully recognize that, but I am going for coffee later today to meet a friend. So that's why I was like, okay, we don't really want anything super sugary or anything. I probably should have done electrolytes. I don't know. We're drinking water and we're just going to deal with it, okay? So, anyways, I was at my brother's wedding recently and it was so fun. So fun. I was the best man, which a lot of people thought was really cool. Um, okay, a lot of people, aka me, I thought it was really cool. My brother and I have always been best friends. And so when he asked me to be his best man, I like cried, had a whole moment. And it was so fun. I loved getting to just celebrate him and his new wife. And it was just surreal to see my brother get married. But it was the best time ever. I'm going to talk about the dress for a second. Okay. Her dress was so pretty. I was going to say I was going to talk about my dress, but all the guys had brown suits on. The colors were pink and brown. And so I had a brown dress on, and all the bridesmaids had like pink dresses on, and everyone was like kind of confused why it didn't match. And then I went and stood on my brother's side. I am talking about it definitely from my point of view, but I had a great time. Okay. It was really cool. But then the actual like wedding was just so sweet. And I've never seen my brother get emotional like that before. And that was just crazy. So it was magical. There was a dirty soda bar. So literally the best thing ever. And now they're living in Florida together. Like how freaking cute. So I'm really excited. I'm going to try to go down and visit them at some point, but I have a lot of travel coming up. A lot of travel this summer. Um, I will be going to some really crazy places that I never ever would have imagined myself going. Um, but you know what? It'll be fun. And when I get back, we'll debrief. Okay. So it'll be great. It'll be great. Okay. Now let's get serious. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about. And this is kind of a twofold conversation. So, first, we're going to talk about comparison. And then, secondly, we're going to talk about like what we can do to not be stuck in comparison and the specific mindset that I have really been leaning into. And it has seriously helped so much. It's very intentional. So, we'll get into that. But gosh, comparison is really hard. I think that it's something where every time you think you're not comparing or every time you think you're getting better at it, all of a sudden something will hit you and you're like, shoot, I'm really not okay. I'm not okay at all with it. And I mean, it's across every single aspect of life. I mean, every single aspect, whether it's business or money or travel or family or like physical appearances, just everything. And comparison is really difficult because I think first of all it's difficult for you because it makes it so you have a hard time being grateful for what you have in front of you for your own life. But then additionally, I do think that if left unchecked, it can actually start to cause rifts between you and whoever you're comparing to because it does turn into jealousy and then resentment, and it can just continue to grow into this nasty beast that is just really unfortunate, truthfully. So, anyways, that's what comparison kind of is. Okay, super real moment with you guys, just gonna be so for real. It's been hard for me to not struggle with this. So adjust, we live on North Side Fort Worth, okay? It's pretty, it's nice. And then like two cities over from us, it's this area of Fort Worth that is extremely rich. And that's where Matt works. Matt works for BMW. And so he is over there all the time. And whenever I like drive to either go see him or we drive through that area, we're surrounded just by these huge, gorgeous homes, just like mega mansions, and they're all so stunning. And then they all have like G Wagons in their driveway and like crazy cars. And they're wearing like all these nice outfits. And every time you go to get coffee, it's like $10 to get a coffee, but no one bats an eye. And just this whole like level of another life that, you know, as someone who is extremely blessed, I can't even fathom. And it's hard for me to go in those areas. And the other day I was driving through one of the areas and I like turned into a neighborhood that wasn't like wasn't on my way. I was just like, oh, I just want to see the pretty houses. So I like went down the road and went and saw all the pretty houses and then like left and was feeling just kind of like blue about it, just kind of like, oh, that that's something I don't think I'll ever have, like that level. And I was talking to Matt about it and he was like, dude, like you do that to yourself. He's like, we're never going to live somewhere like that, even if we could afford it, simply because it like you just compare a lot. And we were sitting on my phone and I was like, whoa, I really am in this like crazy season of comparing my life to all these like 60-year-olds who have been working their entire lives and probably have generational wealth and all this stuff. And so anyways, it's just been something that's really, really been on my mind of like, wow, I did not even realize what I was doing was comparison. And it needs to be nipped in the bud, especially because I am a huge Ed Milet stan. You don't know who Ed Milet is? Girl, you gotta go get on that. His books are amazing. He has a podcast. It's amazing. All of the things. I love Ed Milet so much. And something that he said was that you have to like taste your dreams. Okay. So when I first heard this, I was like, oh, yeah, taste my dreams. And he explained how he used to go to the Ritz-Carlton for like one night. So him and his wife were not making a lot of money and he's very in like the business world and like very savvy and all of that. So it's like kind of like self-help, but also like businessy. It's all that stuff. So he was like talking about how to like taste your dreams and make money. And he was saying how like this idea of he would make a little bit of money and then to reward himself and be like, look at how much closer you are to your dream. He would spend one night at the Ritz-Carlton, one night living the life that he just felt like was his dream. And I heard this and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like what I need to do. I need to like taste my dream more. So that's when I started like driving through fancy neighborhoods and all that stuff. And I really had to take a step back and be like, is this my dream? Is this actually stuff that I want? Is this stuff that I should be comparing? Is this healthy? Is this anything that's actually suiting me? And I do think that there is a level of health to tasting a dream or rewarding yourself for things you're doing well with or pushing yourself to be even better and knowing where you're going. But just because the fancy houses or the fancy hotels or whatever is someone else's dream, it doesn't mean it's mine. And even more than that, it doesn't mean it should be. So all of that to say, really, really trying to work on the whole comparison thing right now. So what is the cure? What are we going to talk about for that? Okay. So glad you asked. Yay. Let's talk about it. I think I've briefly mentioned this on the podcast before, but this is just so near and dear to my heart. Truthfully, one of the things that just lights my soul on fire and something that I'm constantly working towards. And even when I have slip ups of comparison, it's something that I think helps in every aspect of life. And that is the abundance mindset. Okay. So the abundance mindset is this like new and improved way to kind of train your brain to think. And the idea is that there is so much good in the world. There's so many good things, so many blessings from God that there's enough for all of us. There's abundance of it. And you don't need to be comparing. You don't need to be jealous. You don't need to do any of that because there's enough good things in the world. And you know, God gives us what we need for our purpose, which is his will to glorify him, all of that. But that's not always what we want, right? Okay. So while we're sitting here talking about comparison, and like I said, you know, me dealing with like the fancy houses and the fancy cars and all these like super uber rich people, like that is a want and that's not a need. So when I say the abundance mindset, I want to be very, very clear that this isn't like prosperity. This isn't like, oh, if you're a good Christian, you're going to get everything your heart desire. No. That's not the abundance mindset at all. This isn't like something crazy like that. Rather, what it is it's that whatever God has called us to, he has given us an abundance of what we need to achieve that, to do what our purpose is. And so 2 Corinthians 9:8 says, And God is able to bless you abundantly so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. So I think number one, my number one point, this is actually not on my list of things to talk about, but I'm going to put it in right now. Your abundance is not for you. If you are stuck comparing what you have, it's because you're coming at it with a selfish mindset. Truthfully. When you're so consumed with what you have, what you do, what you want, all of that, that's not your intention, it's not your purpose, and ultimately it's a lot of pride, it's a lot of sin. You're coveting things that aren't yours, and that's literally a sin. Okay, so to have the abundance mindset, it means that you are pouring into others, you are giving to others, and it says in this verse, it says, so you will abound in every good work. So it's not for me so I can get a fancy house and I can get a fancy car and all this stuff. It's for other people. It's how I'm serving other people and the good works that are coming out of the fruit of my relationship with God. So why I'm saying this is because I think sometimes we get so caught up in becoming the best versions of ourselves, for who we are and who we want to be, but truthfully, that's not the way it should be. It's becoming the best version of ourselves, having all this fruit so we can love other people really stinking well. So yeah, this can be hard, but I mean, we need to align with God on what he calls us to and not our own selfish ambition, right? So, sorry, my voice. What are you comparing, and what are you comparing? And remember that you have to compare it all. This is point number 2. What are you comparing? And remember that you have to compare it all. So something my mom always told me is if you look at one person's aspect of their life and you want that, you have to try to take into account their entire life. So let's say there is a girl who is you just desperately want to look just like her, and she has so much freedom. If you guys are in high school, she has so much freedom, she can go do whatever she wants, and you just really, really want that. Well, maybe that's coming from a place of her parents are a little bit more checked out, or maybe she doesn't have a good relationship with anyone in her family, and so she feels like no one cares. So she's looking at you going, I wish my family cared, and you're looking at her going, dang, I wish my family wasn't so strict with me. So you have to look at the whole picture. You can't just take one thing of someone else's life. And just like these people with all these crazy cars and crazy houses, I mean, they probably have no freedom because they're constantly working, or they might have honestly issues in their marriage because they're constantly working, or all of these other things that we don't see, but we have to remember that they're there because no one's life is perfect, right? So if you're going to compare something, you have to compare everything. Okay, great. That was point number 2. So now, I think that the abundance mindset, where this comes in, simply put, it's the belief that there's more than enough in the world. And it's about viewing the world from a perspective of abundance rather than scarcity. So instead of operating from a place of fear or competition or lack, it's when you switch and you start seeing opportunities, possibilities, and potential. Okay? So how do we actually use the abundance mindset? How do we actually get that into our lives, right? So we talked about how horrible comparison is. We talked about how we really need to align our purpose with God's purpose in order to achieve true abundance. And then we've also talked about how when you're comparing one thing, you have to compare everything. And so with all that being said, it's still a tricky subject because everyone struggles with comparison somewhere in their lives. And so what we're going to do to combat it, the abundance mindset, okay? I have a couple principles here and strategies that we can use, okay? So first of all, this is kind of from author Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He calls it the abundance mentality. And he talks about how it's the belief that there are those same things that we talked about, enough resources for everyone to succeed. And this is where it really comes down to, because comparison in and of itself, if you're just taking two things and comparing them, it's not bad. It's not totally bad to be oh, this is green and this is blue. Okay, that is technically comparison. You're comparing two things. Where comparison gets really tricky is when you start to think, A, you should have it instead of them, or B, them having it somehow inhibits your ability to live your life and do what you need to do. So if there's like a specific house on the street that I am comparing my house to, I am the reason why that's a problem now. And it's not just me comparing the fact that my house is 2,000 square feet, their house is 7,000 square feet, whatever. The problem comes in is when I start to think that I deserve that instead of them, or it is somehow wrong that I was not given that house or whatever. And I begin to put this level of resentment and it begins to take a place in my heart. Okay. That's when comparison gets really, really sticky. So, that's hard. And this is, I'm using the house as an example because that's really real for me right now. But this is seriously like across the board in everything, especially in businesses and all of that. It's hard, right? So instead of like hoarding knowledge specifically, or hoarding your business contacts or your opportunities or anything like that, with an abundance mindset, you start to give that freely. Okay, so we all know the term gatekeeper, right? The term gatekeeper is when someone is doing something really well, but they're not going to share with you how they got to that area of their life or how they're doing something because they're worried that you're going to encroach on their space. And either A, you're going to do it better, or B, you're going to take away from them. So it's called gatekeeping. It's very talked about on social media, because there's a lot of people who'll be like, oh my gosh, I love your outfit. Where'd you get it? And then either like they don't answer or they say something else or they lead you down a wrong path, whatever. And it's because they don't want you to wear that outfit or have that product or whatever. Gatekeeping is honestly kind of crazy to me. And it really is, as crazy as it sounds, a form of comparison, because when you are so worried about protecting what you have and making sure no one else gets it, you're like pre-comparing. You're pre-comparing what it would be like if someone was in your field doing what you do, all of that. So a huge thing that has been really helpful is to just acknowledge when you're gatekeeping, acknowledge when you don't want someone to know something about how you got somewhere or how you're doing something or something that you bought, whatever. And then choose to push past that. Choose to push past the pressure to hold information to yourself, because everyone should have amazing things. Like everyone should desire, everyone should want other people to be just as amazing, if not more amazing than they are. And that's not the natural inclination, but it's something that is so incredibly powerful when we allow ourselves to push past it. So that's one of the main strategies is gatekeeping no more. Whenever you feel yourself gatekeeping, really just stop that. And so in a similar vein, strategy number 2 is collaboration over competition. Well, gatekeeping is more like tangible. I guess knowledge isn't really tangible, but it's more like things that are actually applied to your daily life. Collaboration over competition is going to be more abstract, in my opinion. So it like the scarcity mindset, people will view like this like game, believing that someone else's gain is going to come at their expense, right? So like if we're competing, if you get ahead of me, I'm losing, right? So when you look at life that way, and this is coming from someone who in their top strengths has competition, so trust me, I get it. When you're looking at someone and you see their growth, you see their life, their progress as competition to your own, you then are striving to get ahead of someone. And A, they probably don't even know they're competing with you. Or B, that's really not that healthy because you guys live very different lives. And you should live different lives because you were created differently. So that's not great. When someone has the abundance mindset in place, though, they understand that collaboration and cooperation with someone will lead to collective greater success. Because when you're celebrating the achievements of other people, it's more of a win-win interaction rather than a passive-aggressive, snipey interaction. And this is so, so hard because it sounds amazing. This sounds like the dream. This is it right here. How great. Yes, I want collaboration over competition. How good. But it's not as natural. Like, I think as human beings, as women, this is hard to do because we see someone else start to do something and we instantly wonder if we should be doing that and if we should do it better. Not because we think necessarily that that person is bad at it or anything like that, but there's just something so innate in us that says, like, wait, they're doing that. Okay, should I do it? And I think it's a sense of like wanting to belong, wanting to be good at something, wanting to be recognized, all of that coming together. And it's just, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Let me tell you, the women that I admire most in life are women who cheer other people around, like around them on. Like they're constantly cheering them on, they're constantly encouraging them. And then when they're doing something in their lives, it is so much easier to turn and encourage them and lift them up and just want to empower them in what they're doing because there's no sense of competition there. Where there are some people that I know where it's a definite sense of competition. And I don't even know if they see themselves doing it, but there is this sense of you're getting all these things and I'm not, so thus you're winning and I'm losing, and this is not okay. So it's just this hard scenario to deal with, and it takes so much self-awareness and intentional choices to revert differently, okay? So those are two kind of larger scale, like big shifts in their principles in the abundance mindset: collaboration over competition, and then obviously the abundance mentality of not gatekeeping anymore. Within all of that, I do think there is a third one that's a little cheesy for me, but it is important to at least mention, is this idea of like gratitude, of being grateful for where you are in life, for what you have in life, and then not always trying to look at someone else and desire what they have. And that's kind of where I return to again, where if you're going to compare one part of something, you have to kind of compare it all. So, oh wow, they have a way bigger house and a way bigger yard. Well, that's a lot more landscaping work. So take that into account. That's a lot more like vacuuming and dusting that you're going to have to freaking keep up with. So take that into account. You know what I mean? Like you have to take the whole picture, all the property tax, all of the craziness that you want in that house, you have to now deal with instead of maybe what's so much easier with your house. So all that being said, you have to compare the whole thing and just be grateful for the positives of your scenario, your situation, and that makes it a lot easier. So those are three kind of basic principles, and then I just want to give like three quick strategies that I do believe will help. And the first one is the abundance affirmations. These are not affirmations like you're going to say in the mirror like, I am strong. Those have its place. I really do believe that, especially if they're scripturally based affirmations. But by repeating affirmations like there is more than enough to go around, there's more than enough to go around, or even just saying her success is not my demise. That is something I will catch myself saying all the time, all the time. Anytime I go to dinner and I am with a group of friends and they're talking about something so amazing happening in their lives, and I start to catch myself going, oh, I wish I was doing that. Why is that not happening for me? What the heck? I will literally have to quickly remind myself, okay, her success is not my demise. And when you're reminding yourself of that so intentionally, it is crazy how quickly you can look at that and be like, wow, okay, wait, let me celebrate her now. And that intentional celebration of someone else is so good, okay? So I personally use that one, her success is not my demise. You can also use there is more than enough to go around. Anything like that, even if you just want to say like collaboration over competition over and over again. Those intentional moments when you catch yourself in comparison, so important. Strategy number 2 is to, as crazy as this may sound, like kind of visualize abundance, because visualization is such a powerful tool. And I know so many athletes and entrepreneurs and just really good performers who like really do use this to achieve their goals. They'll visualize them winning something. So taking a few minutes to just kind of sit yourself down and visualize your dreams and make sure that your dreams are what they should be, that it is the glorification of God, that it is serving other people really, really well and uplifting them and encouraging them. And, maybe there are some other goals in there for your business or for your health or whatever. Those are all good things too, but just really allow yourself to lean into your dreams, because if I went down that road and I spent the entire time trying to avoid the fact that I was visualizing myself with a big fancy house, and that was a dream that I was visualizing, I would not be able to then see the comparison problem. So sometimes we have these dreams and we're not even really sure that they're our dreams, or we don't even know to fully recognize them because we think maybe they shouldn't be our dreams. As we're driving down the road with the big fancy house, or as we're trying to grow our business and listening to podcasts saying, oh, get over $1 million in your business in the first year, all this stuff. And we start to think that, and then we're like, oh, wait, that's selfish. Okay. It's not my dream. It's not my dream, but you're still thinking about it. That's not okay. So if you take time to actually visualize where you're going, you're then able to align yourself and correct yourself and do the things that you need to do, rather than having these dreams that are there, they're there, but you're choosing to avoid them instead of actually lean into them and start planning for them. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for me personally. But anyways, so that's visualization. And then my last one is generosity, guys. Oh my goodness. Generosity is so huge. And this does not mean generosity necessarily financially. It could mean financial generosity 100%, but generosity in everything. This really goes back to the idea of the gatekeeping. If you're so concerned with someone getting what you have, you've put that item or that idea on a pedestal, and it's no longer healthy. Okay. So look for opportunities to give back to others. I mean, that could be through acts of kindness, that could be through donations, that could be volunteering, your time or your expertise, whatever that looks like. Because as you give freely, you'll find that abundance starts flowing. And maybe it's not that you all of a sudden made all your money back because you decided to give to the church, but rather it's that you're able to just shift your mindset, and that there's so many good things. And when you're not constantly, if you're giving your money away, or you're giving your time away, or you're giving your skills away, you're no longer so consumed with the fact that there's so little about it, because you realize everything is so finite. It's not a scarcity situation. It's not something you need to be freaking out over, because there's so much beauty to just being generous with it and not gatekeeping things, truthfully. So, a little recap one more time. Oh my gosh, that was so loud. I don't know if you guys could hear that. The construction's crazy here. Okay, real fast as we wrap up the abundance mindset. Principle is number 1, to definitely not be gatekeeping all of the things. Principle number 2 is collaboration over competition. And principle number 3 is gratitude. And then some of those strategies are practicing the abundance affirmations, like her success is not my demise. Visualize your dreams and align them to where they need to be to make sure that you are dreaming about the right things. And lastly, act generously. Okay, so I hope this was super helpful, as you might just be battling a little bit with comparison. And I am so proud of you, and I love you lots.